to another video unboxing. Now this is only an unboxing video. We're just going to compare the DV1s size wise to the full size version, and I've got the SRI Pro Lite as well, just to give it a bit of background to see what they like size wise. I will have a spraying video coming up, but I've only recently got this, and obviously it'll take a while to do a few bits with it and get an idea of what it's like, really, to give you an idea of what it's like. So just an unboxing now. So we got the DV1s with a slide off cover, so you get a slide off cover. You get the DV1 box. Inside you have the DV1s, which we'll go into obviously in a minute. You remove the top cover, you then have a cup, remove the cup and remove the next layer. You then have some tools, a spare tip and an instruction leaflet, that way even. So we won't bother the instructions, typical man. So you get, this one is a 1.2 and 1.0 tip. You can get 1.2, 1.0, 0.8 in the S1 and S2 caps. Now this is an S1 cap, which is equivalent to the TE5 cap. So it's more of a Transtech cap than a HVLP. They all say HVLP, but they're more HVLP than others, some of them. This is the less HVLP, it uses a little bit less air. They're designed to work at 1.75 bar, which is about 26 psi, so less than the older model. We'll have a look in a minute and size it up against it. So the cup is exactly the same. So the cup for the DV1s is the same as the SRI Pro Lite, or Pro Lite S as it's now called. Exactly the same gun, blue instead of gold, that's all. And obviously just attaches in the normal way on top. They also do a micro version, which comes with a 0.7 and a 0.9 tip and a micro cap. I haven't got that. I've got a micro 0.6 a micro capped SRI Pro Lite in 0.6, which is absolutely ideal for cycle frames, things like that. So I won't be getting the micro version, but this is the one that I actually wanted. I don't know if you can see, I've got a new camera and it's not actually, oh that's okay. So it's the S1 Plus. It says HVLP, but it's not true HVLP really. I think it's just playing to the people that want it to be HVLP, as far as you know, the bureaucrats are concerned, really. So let's have a quick strip down. You have a normal sealing ring, the white sealing ring you see there, which is fair for most of them, really. You do have, let's get the spanner out, you do have a seal inside this, which some of the guns you don't. You know, the Iwatas spring to mind, and the Segolas, etc. So let me just loosen that off, whip that out. One of the things I do like about these, and it's the same with the full size gun as well, the full size DV1 that we've got here just to put it up against, is that when you put the spring in, which is the spring that obviously pushes the needle through, and you put the cap on, it's not under any spring pressure, so you can put that on really easy, and then it takes up the spring pressure afterwards. Really good thing that. It may sound like a silly thing, but the amount of time, if you're in a hurry or you want to get stuff done and you're trying to push against the spring, the force of the spring, and trying to get the threads on, I've known people to actually ruin the threads on the end of that or both, just trying to do that. So I think that's really a good idea. Most manufacturers should do that. You get your standard needle. As far as I know, the needle is the same for the well, it's definitely the same for the 1.2 and the 1.0. It says it's the same for the 0.8 as well. The micro version is different. So let's just whip this off. So it's basically, it is a mini DV1. It shares no components with the SRI. You've got there, I won't bother taking it off this time, but there's a small cover there. You can just prise that cover off. Obviously be careful because you don't want to ruin the gun, but just prise that cover off, and underneath there's two torque screws, 2 Tech screws. Just undo those and that will come off, and it will leave a little white gasket that you get with the GTIs, and the same with the DV1 basically. You don't need to do that every time you clean it, you just do that occasionally. So it's best to leave it until it actually goes, really, unless you get your guns really dirty, in which case it might be a good idea to clean it every now and again. But that's about it really. The adjustment for the air is at the bottom, which is the same as the other. So let's just quickly whip this together and we'll see what it's like size wise compared to the real thing, and compared to the SRI Pro Lite. So once again, pop that on there, and again, as I say, that's really makes it so easy. It's so easy doing that. So what we got, another thing you get a small spanner there, a small castle head spanner, and that is for, if you remove that torque screw there in the back, this is for the fan adjustment. If you remove that, pull that off, there's a hexagon, like a castle nut inside there. That goes in there, undoes it, and you can remove that assembly. So that's quite straightforward. So let's have a quick look size wise. So there, quite different really. Let's put those together there. So it is definitely a minigun. This thing here is a digital gauge. As far as I know, they don't make these with digital gauge. Get it out. It's about probably 60% of the size. I would say this is 60% of the size of this. So exactly the same principle. Everything's, it's just a little mini copy of it. So let's put it up against the SRI, because the SRI, now called the Pro Lite S, exactly the same. It's just blue now instead of gold, that's all. So we put them up together, if you can see, very similar size. This looks slightly smaller. Yeah, it's slightly smaller. Ergonomically, in the hand, this feels better. This feels slightly bigger. My hands are quite big, glove size 10, 11. This feels better, definitely feels better. This feels tight, if that makes sense. Tight squeeze around the trigger, just here. It's a similar feeling you get with the LPH80. When you put your fingers around that, there's not really enough room for 2 fingers, but it's not comfortable with one. It's a minor point. It's not going to be a be all and end all, but that does feel better in the hand. Just to show you something, this is the AZ4 Impact Junior, and that's the SRI, sorry, not the SRI, the DV1s, and you can see the DV1s is quite a bit smaller. I've always regarded this as a midi rather than a mini gun. So DV1s is a small gun. You can see that is slightly bigger. So that's about it really. As I say, you get a spare tip. I'll get a video up once I've got used to using it and get to know sort of like the best settings and that on it really. But I always think with a gun, if it's good straight off, then it's going to be fine. If you have to muck about with it too much, then maybe it's not a good gun anyway. But anyway, we'll see what happens. All right guys, thanks for watching as always. Cheers.